The Vatican doesn't announce this event. It isn't listed on calendars, no bells toll for it, and the Pope never speaks of it. But it happens. Every decade, beneath the oldest foundations of the Vatican, in a hall that should not exist. I was hired as security, not because I was skilled, not because I was strong. I was hired because I was disposable. On my first night, a priest dressed in black pressed a laminated paper into my hands. The words were short, brutal. Follow them exactly, or don't expect to survive. I thought it was a joke, but when the chanting began, I realized the rules weren't for me to follow. They were for me to cling to. Rule 1. Never look the choir in the eyes. At the stroke of midnight, the choir began. Children dressed in white robes, their voices pure and unearthly, sang in perfect harmony. The sound was so flawless it felt divine. But the first rule burned in my head. Never look the choir in the eyes. So I kept my gaze low, watching only their folded hands. The guard beside me didn't. He tilted his head just for a second, and I heard his gasp choke into a scream. I turned my head too late, just long enough to see his body snap like a rag doll, bones twisting inward, smoke leaking from his eyes. The children's faces weren't faces at all, just empty sockets, black as ash, streaming with smoke. The choir sang louder, as if his death was part of the hymn, and no one stopped them. Rule 2. Do not touch the holy water. During the second night, I noticed a stone basin near the altar, filled with water that shimmered like liquid silver. It was beautiful, hypnotic. The priest warned me before the event started. Rule 2. Do not touch the holy water. Not even a drop. Halfway through the ceremony, one of the new guards staggered in, his throat parched, sweat pouring down his face. He leaned over the basin and dipped his hand in. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then his skin began to bubble. He screamed as his flesh melted away, fingers dissolving like wax. The water didn't ripple, didn't stir. It simply devoured him, pulling his arm deeper until his entire body was swallowed. The basin was calm again, as if he'd never existed. The priest didn't even look up from his prayers. Rule 3. When the bells toll, do not move. On the third night, deep beneath the Vatican, I heard something no man should ever hear. Bells. Not church bells. Not sacred. These were massive, hollow, metallic, and they rang from somewhere below the floor. The rule was clear. When the bells toll, do not move. So I froze. The sound vibrated through my chest, rattling my bones. Dust rained from the ceiling. Across the hall, another guard panicked. Herein, the bells tolled again. He was gone. Not killed, not crushed, gone. His footsteps cut short, his body erased from existence, leaving only his uniform in a crumpled heap on the marble floor. I stood paralyzed until the bells faded. My heart didn't start beating again until silence returned. Rule 4. Never speak to the guests. On the fourth night, the guests arrived. Men and women dressed in fine suits and gowns, their faces hidden by masks shaped like animals: wolf, raven, goat. They didn't walk so much as glide, their feet never touching the ground. The priest leaned close and hissed. Rule 4. Never speak to the guests, no matter what they say to you. One of them broke away from the group. A tall figure in a fox mask. It drifted to me, its head cocked at an unnatural angle. Tell me your name, it whispered. The voice was smooth, deep, pulling at my mind like hooks. My tongue burned to answer, to obey, but I clenched my jaw shut, blood dripping where I bit my lip. The figure leaned closer. Behind the mask, I saw teeth. Too many teeth. When I didn't respond, it shrieked, a sound like tearing metal, before slithering back to the group. I didn't move for the rest of the night. Rule 5. When the Black Mass begins, leave before the final prayer. The last rule was the shortest, the most terrifying. When the Black Mass begins, leave before the final prayer. The priest never explained why. But on the 5th night, as the candles dimmed and the air thickened with smoke, I realized I didn't need an explanation. The choir stood silent. The guests gathered close to the altar, and the priest's voice deepened, speaking words that vibrated inside my skull. The floor cracked. Flames seeped from the stone. Something vast and breathing stirred beneath the Vatican itself. I remembered the rule. Leave before the final prayer. So I ran. As I sprinted through the catacombs, the voices chased me, hundreds of voices, chanting in unison, rattling the very walls. My vision blurred, my ears bled, but I didn't stop. When I burst through the exit doors into the dawn, the world was still. Normal. Behind me, the bells tolled one final time, and then silence. I still have the paper. 5 brutal rules. The Vatican never called me again. I don't think they will. Maybe because I followed the rules. Maybe because I saw too much. But at night, when I close my eyes, I hear it, the choir, the bells, the voices behind the masks. And I know one thing with certainty. I survived because I obeyed. The real question is, would you?